When you have that burning desire and you want success as bad as you want to breathe, success is inevitable. My first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. Back in 1980, realized that you're going to have to sacrifice comfort and short-term pleasure to achieve anything significant. Success requires your ability to influence. I mean, in our business, you're going to be influencing potential partners, investors, sellers, brokers, you name it. All right, this is enough. Get up off your ass and go make something happen. You got to make a decision.
Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars, guys. As you know, this is typically where we will interview, get into the nitty gritty. Today, we might talk a little bit about the nitty gritty of the whole multifamily market instead of some specific deals because as you guys know, today on the episode, our multifamily rock star is Rod Cleve himself. And we're going to do a little bit of interview, a little bit of a different style interview of me interviewing Rod here and let him get into it. What's going on, Rod?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, brother.
Podcast. So yeah, tell us a little bit. I know we wanted to dive into some different things for success and what to do into the market. And I know we'll get into the market and what's going well, what's not going well in multifamily right now, but start us off with some things that people should be doing and just general success principles. Let's start there.
Sure. Well, let's do this. Those of you that don't know my background, and I'm sure there's some of you that haven't heard my story. And so I'm going to briefly discuss my story and the framework for what I want to talk about today. So if you don't know, I'm a Dutch immigrant, immigrated from the Netherlands, think wooden shoes and windmills, and immigrated this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha, and we ended up in Denver, Colorado. Didn't have much. In fact, I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army literally all the way through junior high school till finally I got disgusted and lied about my age and got a job at Burger King flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes and ultimately buy a car. And, I know that some of you had it harder than we did, but, I knew I wanted more. I mean, back then I remember we were eating expired food. We shopped at an expired food store, believe it or not. And we drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And so, like I said, I know some of you may have had it harder than we did, but luckily my mom had an incredible work ethic, which was really inspiring for me. And she babysit a bunch of kids so we'd have enough money to eat and buy things we needed. And with her babysitting money, she was a bit of an entrepreneur. So she actually invested in the stock market successfully in IPOs without any formal education. And she also started buying real estate. Well, the first real estate acquisition for her was their house directly across the street from us. She bought from a family named the Jewels for about 30 grand when I was about 14. Then when I was about 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that it had gone up in value 20 grand. And trust me, this was when 20 grand was a lot of money. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm not going to do college. I'm going to get into real estate. So I went out and got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. I could have my own office. They got smart. Now you need to have some experience before you can be a broker. And I was smart enough to work underneath a broker, but I was still living at home. In my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1970, or actually 1980, was some real money, okay? And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy. It was a guy I was working for, the broker I was working for, actually, that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology. And you guys know I'm a big proponent for mindset and psychology, which is why I do those Own Your Power clips every week to get you juiced, because that's 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. And so one of the things that, sometimes when I've interviewed on other shows, I'll talk about this, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on my show, for God's sakes. And it's a little ridiculous. And that is the strategies that I used in my to have the success that I have. Because basically, when I circle back, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long-term. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And if you want to do the math on that, which I did, of course, because I thought I was a freaking real estate god, it's about $8,300 an hour over a 40-hour work week for the whole year. And, I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. And if you've heard my story, God gave me a nice little smackdown. That was 2008. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so, as you guys know, I'm known for talking about the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And probably more importantly, the mindset it took to recover from losing $50 million. So, Mark, I think we should talk about that if you're good with it, and just talk about some of these strategies for success. All right. Well, let's get into it. So it all starts with burning desire. You got to freaking want it. You got to have a hunger. And so, if you come to one of my boot camps, the first thing we do is goal setting and really on steroids. Because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what it is you want and why you want it. And so, like I said, that's the first thing we do at every event that I have, because that's how you create that burning desire and that hunger, and you just got to want it bad. So you've got to have your written goals, and you got to have why those goals are a must. Now, if you want to I do a goal setting workshop most years on January 1st. And there's one in my link tree at rodslinks.com. It's at the bottom. There's a guide you can download. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Here's the sad reality, Mark. Most people spend more time planning a birthday party or a Christmas party than they do designing their lives. And doing your goals and your whys is designing your freaking life. So you've got to do it. And that's that hunger and that desire is how you push through fear. It's how you get started. It's how you push through limiting beliefs. Or maybe you're comfortable and the comfort zone's a nice warm place, and we all know nothing freaking grows there, right? So that's how that's how it works. And, with that burning desire, when you get knocked down, which you inevitably will, you'll get back up and you keep going. And so that's probably one of the most important pieces of these strategies. And so, like when I lost everything in 2008 and 9, I had to reassociate with my goals. Because it was really easy for me to get caught up in a pity party and think about all that loss, because I thought I was set for life. And, I did hide under a rock for a few months feeling sorry for myself. But then I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. So I reassociated with my goals, recreated that burning desire. And by the way, it's the same way to get started. This is why I do it at my boot camps. You've got to have that to get going. And so, and when you have that burning desire and you want success as bad as you want to breathe, success is inevitable. So, that's the first piece. And you have to decide you're not going to be average. And so, when you do your goals, get pictures of them, put them around you, get vision boards, do all of that stuff because it works. Put your goals on your screensaver, put them around you on the wall. If you saw the walls downstairs in my exercise room, I've got pictures of all the things that I want. And that's how you manifest this stuff, guys. It freaking works. Trust me on this. So that's it. Then the next piece is you got to make a decision. Like I did back then when I lost everything. I'm like, all right, this is enough. Get up off your ass and go make something happen. You got to make a decision, okay? And the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. It's not dipping your toe in the water. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're either all in or you're out, okay? And once you make that decision, you're like a train on a freaking track. If you don't make a decision, you're going to get knocked off track, okay? Because once you make a decision, you're committed. Okay. And then once you're committed, it's no longer a dream. It's a freaking outcome. Now, motivation will get you started, but it's that decision and commitment that gets you home. So that's the next piece. And I'll also tell you, you've got to own 100% of every aspect of your life, the good and the bad, 100% responsibility. You can't shirk your responsibility. So decision, commitment. Then the next piece is you got to take the first step. Dr. Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the entire staircase. You take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Now, I see it with my students all the time, my warriors, my coaching students, that they don't have a deal yet. It's been 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, sometimes 8 months. And they're like complaining, and I'm like, you know what to do. Keep making the phone calls. Don't get caught up in busy work. And I'm kicking them in the butt to keep going. And then they get a deal. And that first deal, it's the scariest. It's the hardest. It's the most stressful. It takes the longest. Then they get one and they have 3. I'm like, what the hell just happened? See, it's that law of the first deal. And so I got to tell you, but you got to take that first step. And sometimes for many of you, especially you analytical ones, you know who you are. You know how you have to check off every single box before you make a move. You can't do that here. You got to understand that there's a map and a blueprint for this business. And if you follow that, success is inevitable. You've just got to do it. But sometimes that first step is the biggest decision of your life. Here's the thing, for those of you that are super analytical, I want to give you an analogy. You can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlight only seeing 50 feet in front of you. And you'll make it. Now, You may have some obstacles in the way, but you know other people have done it before you. It's the same way with this multifamily business, guys. So keep that in mind. And just remember this. This life is not a dress rehearsal, okay? This is your freaking life. And, you know, you think you have time, right? You don't want any regrets. You know, a lot of people fear failure. I'm going to tell you, fear regret much more than failure. I have failed my way to success. And that's how most entrepreneurs have done it. You know, I call them seminars. You know, that was a $50 million seminar. It was a big freaking seminar, but it was a $50 million seminar. And so, you know, don't have any regret. There was this nurse in Australia named Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse. And so she took care of patients when they were about to die. And this is a great example of regret. And she asked them, do you have any regrets? And she even wrote a book about it, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the number one regret was? It was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything worse than that, Mark. I'm sure you guys listening agree. So don't fear failure, fear regret. Now, speaking of fear, that's another thing that holds people back, fear and limiting beliefs. You know, when I immigrated this country, I didn't speak English. And my mom, proud Dutch woman that she is, so I found out what bullies were. I got thrown into school, found out what bullies were. And then my mom, like I said, proud Dutch woman she is, sent me to school in wooden shoes and those leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest for show and tell. And of course, I got my ass kicked again. And, you know, and then the bullies would chase me home and she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got an ass beaten. And, you know, I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which of course presupposed that I wasn't. And then I had, you know, things that all of us have had happen to us. I was in love with this girl that I thought I was in love with at like 8 or 9 years old. And she embarrassed me on the playground in front of a bunch of kids. And again, I came up with this belief system that I just wasn't good enough. And here's the thing. A lot of people have these limiting belief systems. I'm not good enough. That's a big one. I'm not smart enough. I'm not analytical enough. That's another one. I'm not old enough. I'm not young enough. You know, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. But here's the thing to remember, guys. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are BS. But see, we've had some emotional thing happen to us in our childhood, and we believe they're real, and they're not. They have no basis in fact. So if you have one of these BS belief systems, what I'm going to encourage you to do is drag it out into the daylight. Look at it with your adult rational mind. Recognize that it's just your brain playing tricks on you. You know, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in class, afraid I'd be embarrassed or humiliated. And now I speak in front of freaking thousands of people a year in flip-flops. I just don't care anymore because I've pushed through that limiting belief. And you can do the same thing. Okay. The most successful people on the planet have the highest degree of focus. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. So that's a Tony Robbins quote. I'm not going to steal that from him. But I will tell you, incredible focus equals incredible success. Now, here's the thing about focus, though. Whatever you focus on gets larger, both positive and negative. You know, like I get people call me and say, how do I get out of student loan debt? And I'm like, wrong freaking question. How do you make so much money? The debt's irrelevant is the right question. You know, they asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. And she said, no, I'm pro-peace. You see the difference, right? And it's all about focus. And I'll tell you, it's very easy to also dilute your focus. I remember, you know, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've built 29 businesses and, you know, several were tens of millions of dollars. I got 3 right now that are, but most were spectacular flaming seminars. Remember, we fail our way to success, right? Well, I remember I've had yogurt shops in Denver. I've had vending carts selling ice cream bars, carpet cleaning business. Oh gosh, mortgage companies, you name it. And I had my focus was massively diluted when I had all these different businesses going one right after another. And so I will tell you, I do everything I can now to not dilute my focus, including even my decision making. You'll notice I'm typically in a black or dark blue V-neck, and I've got about 100 of them. So I don't have to think about what I'm going to wear. I avoid brain fatigue. And additionally, you know, I don't know about you, but I'll be sitting watching Netflix and I'll be scrolling through freaking social media while I'm doing that. That kills your focus. You know, you may or may not know, this is the largest commercial real estate podcast on the planet. I think we're probably pushing 24 million downloads at this point, and I get excited about that. But I listen to two podcasts. One of them is Joe Rogan, and the other one is Tim Ferriss. But I listen to them, so I get, they're on both sides of the aisle. I mean, you guys, if you listen to me, I'm definitely on one side of the aisle than the other. But I try to listen to both to try to be balanced. And on Tim Ferriss's show, which is on the other side of the aisle, he interviews the best of the best in the world, and it's in fascinating, intriguing conversations with best actors on the planet: Arnold, Hugh Jackman, Jamie Foxx, Ed Norton, you name it. Billionaires like Ray Dalio, best athletes on the planet, NFL, NBA players, Michael Phelps, the swimmer, and CEOs of the biggest companies in the world like Zuckerberg. And he deconstructs their success. And again, it's fascinating to hear these guys talk about their success. But I started to hear a freaking pattern, Mark. They almost all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So again, focus is huge, guys, and anything you can do to enhance it is huge. Now, this next piece that I want to talk about is especially important in multifamily. And multifamily is a team sport, and you've got to play to your strengths. Don't try to build your weaknesses. Your strengths are your greatest assets. Success comes much faster when you maximize your strengths. And what I will tell you is align, hire, or partner for your weaknesses. This is the reason my Warriors are so freaking successful. And in fact, we just came off of a Warrior-only event this last weekend, literally the day before yesterday here in Sarasota. I had a few hundred of my Warriors here. It was a kick in the ass, and we dove deep on a bunch of different topics. But I started doing those because we discovered my most successful Warriors are the ones that are most connected in that community. And so we started doing things to facilitate those connections. Like, we do random speed dating where we'll have Q&A calls and have a speed dating breakout sessions after those. But we started doing these Warrior events. And like I said, we just had this one. It was awesome. But the reason they're so successful is because they team up, and you get somebody that's, for example, outgoing, connected with someone that's analytical, maybe connected with someone that's process driven and great for asset management. And success is freaking inevitable. There's a reason they own well over 200,000 units, is because they play to their strengths. See, your strengths are your greatest assets. And if you're playing to your strengths, you're going to love what you do. And if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. And you're in the Quan, like in the movie Jerry Maguire. I mean, you're in the zone. You're loving life, right? And so, and I will tell you, the other thing is, if you're playing to your strengths, you're going to be passionate. And passion is required to influence people, okay? And when you love what you do, you're passionate. You have the ability to influence, and success requires your ability to influence. I mean, in our business, you're going to be influencing potential partners, investors, sellers, brokers, you name it. And so it's really important to play with what you're strong at. And that's what I do. When I have my Warriors stand up and network at these Warrior events, I tell them, go get in a group of 5 and tell the people there what your superpower is, what you're good at, whether it's communication, whatever it is. And because everybody has a superpower. And so you're operating from passion. And that passion also, of course, equates to your, it's really the fuel, and it equates to your ability to influence. So don't settle, don't play small. Figure out what freaking juices you and inspires you, and do that. And for example, if it's not real estate, for God's sakes, go learn something else, because the proverbial shit is about to hit the fan, guys. It's already starting. We're going to see some incredible freaking deals coming. We're already starting to see some, and it's going to get much, much better. So if there was ever a time to get up to speed on something, it is right freaking now. If it's going to be real estate, there's different asset classes. You can do single family, you can do office, I wouldn't do office. It's dying right now. Retail, self-storage, mobile home parks. If it's multifamily, I would encourage you to apply to my Warrior program. If you're interested in doing that, you text the word crush to 72345. Again, the word crush to 72345, and we'll set up a call, and you and I will be speaking. But whatever you do, don't wait, because it's coming right now. And back to passion. Don't settle. Don't play small, okay? Passion is what breeds. It's when you do what you love and you're playing to your strengths and you're in a team, because this is a team sport. Again, success is a foregone conclusion. That passion breeds creativity. It breeds innovation. And it minimizes or even eliminates fear. So that's passion. All right, a couple more. I want to talk about peer group for a minute. you guys have heard the adage, who you hang out with is who you become. You're the sum total of your 3 to 5 best friends. I will tell you, it is absolutely accurate, both professionally and personally. You show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are, your happiness, your health, your relationships, and definitely your finances, okay? You want to be in a group that lifts you up and encourages you and motivates you. And again, I don't keep going back to the warrior group, but that's why that is so successful. See, so many of us have people in our lives that are naysayers, that are afraid of success, or they have their own limiting beliefs or fears, and they will try to hold you back out of fear of losing you or fear of feeling less than if you succeed. And sometimes it's family. So I'm going to tell you, love your freaking family, but choose your peers proactively, very carefully. Go to local real estate investor club meetings, for example, or, come to one of my boot camps. I've got one of those coming up in November in Orlando. There'll be 1,000 people there, or again, check out my warrior program, but get around people that want more out of life. Okay. Because a rising tide lifts lifts all ships. Right. And so, be very, very careful. You want to be around people that think what you think is easy. Think what you think is hard is easy. Okay. You want to be around that. If you're going to play somebody in tennis, do you want somebody easy, better than you or worse than you in playing tennis? Obviously better than you. And so you want to get around people that know that have done what you want to do and are good at it. And they've got the blueprint and the map and they know how to get it done. Okay. People that want more out of life that aren't going to hold you back. Super important. Okay. Now let's circle back to problems and failure for a second. I'm going to tell you, like I said, I've had scores of things that I've tried that have failed, and we all have, okay? But we really fail our way to success. But here's the thing I want you to remember that you may not realize, and you may not really give conscious consideration to. Problems are a freaking gift because they give us feedback. They tell us what's working and what's not working. And candidly, the only people that don't have problems are dead, right? I got to meet the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, beautiful human being. I met her at one of the masterminds I was at. And that reminds me of a story I want to tell you about the peer group comment. But she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother on a weekly basis, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, what an awesome freaking question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure. But back to peer group for 1 second, because I forgot to mention this, and I use a great example of this. Back in 2008 and 9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, okay? It's a mastermind. It's extraordinary mastermind. It was like 130 grand at that time. It's more than that now. But I was around people that were freaking killing it in 2008 and 9, okay? They were absolutely killing it. And they're like, and I was losing everything. And they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion, go make something happen, okay? See, they had planned for what was coming on. Now, and that's what I'm telling you, you still have time to plan for what's coming, because I really believe we're going to see incredible opportunity in this country economically. And I don't know if you guys know, right now our national debt is going up $1 trillion every 100 days, okay? Our interest on that debt is 1.2 trillion a year and going up. What's wrong with that freaking picture? And we wonder why there's inflation. They say inflation is being curbed. I'm calling BS. They can't curb it. But see, here's the great thing about that. There's a great thing about inflation. Yeah, it's not great for people that are struggling, but people that get into real estate, it is, because in our business, any increase to the net income is an exponential increase to the value. And so rents are going to go up because of inflation. And you buy a property, your mortgage is locked. Your mortgage amount's not going up, but your rents go up, your net income goes up, your value goes up. So, again, get serious. If you're serious about this, you need to move, because once it really gets ugly and the fear is out there and the news is terrible, it's going to be much harder to get up to speed, because you got to build relationships and you got to build knowledge. 7 steps to success. I talked about this at my last Warrior event. The first step, again, is you got to figure out what you want. Okay. Remember, without a vision, the people perish. A good book somewhere says that. So you got to have the goals, right? The second step is you got to be aware that success is a journey. It's not a destination. And you've got to associate pleasure with the process and the journey instead of the ultimate outcome. A lot of, they say the happiest days of a boat owner's life are the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. It's never about the goal. I'll give you another example of goals here in just a second. But you got to associate pleasure with the process. The third step is you've got to realize that you're going to have to sacrifice comfort and short-term pleasure to achieve anything significant. You got to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you live the rest of your life like most people can't. That's the reality. And, I've got warriors that have retired after 2 or 3 years in the program because their income exceeded their high W-2 income. And they did this on the side with jobs and kids and everything else. They were able to do it. But they had to sacrifice some comfort and short-term pleasure to make that happen. The fourth step is you've got to have a plan. And you've got to outline your priorities to achieve that goal. And then the fifth step is you've got to take massive freaking action and continually do something every day that moves you closer to your goal. Every single day you do a little something and you celebrate that progress. Happiness doesn't come from the goals. It comes from progress, but you got to celebrate that progress. And then the sixth step is to celebrate. Well, I just said that. That's the sixth step. I got ahead of myself. That's to celebrate every win on your journey because, again, happiness comes from progress. And then the last, probably most important step is if you hit a wall, you change your approach, keeping your eye focused on your ultimate outcome and change your approach, okay? So again, and then if you hit a wall again, you keep your eye focused on the ultimate outcome and you change your approach again. And guys, success is not a straight line. There are a lot of curves and turns in the road, but if you focus on that ultimate outcome and you change your approach, ultimately you'll be successful. I remember when I was losing everything in 2010, I almost went bankrupt with a company that I formed out of the ashes of that crash. I built a litigation support company. I almost went bankrupt and I had to change my approach and turned it into a $10 million company. I remember when COVID hit, I had 800 people scheduled to be in Orlando and we'd sold a bunch of tickets. So we're like, holy shit, guys, what are we going to do? We couldn't meet. And so I'm in my backyard shooting a freaking video telling people, hey, we're going to go virtual. I built this studio up here in one of the buildings in my compound and we pivoted. We changed our approach. And so, that's what you have to do. I want to mention two other quick things. One is gratitude. Guys, when the going gets tough, it is so important to remember gratitude. It's the most important foundational emotion we have available to us. It makes us stronger when we face adversity. It strengthens our immune system, makes our heart stronger, lowers our blood pressure, brings us closer to our spirituality. And it attracts everything you want into your life, okay? Most mornings I'll sit on my recliner and I will just do gratitude for the amazing people in my life, my warriors, the people I love. And then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I'll sometimes get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And I'm sure I lost a couple of you on that, but I'm telling you, this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your peril, okay? Gratitude is huge. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing all that stuff, Rod. It's like you are so good at just from mindset, stringing one thing to the next on all these things that are super important, getting into multifamily here. And I know we've gone for a good bit here. So maybe what we do is we split it up and on our next episode, we'll do a similar style, but we'll get into the nitty gritty about what's going on in the market because there's big changes. And I know I worked for you for the past 5 years, and I can tell you a big reason why people like you is because you went 2000 through 2008. And I think people will like your opinion on what's going on right now as well.
All right, we'll do that next. That sounds really good. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, brother. Good to see you, man.
Cool. Great chat.
All right. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. But see, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now, we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345. Or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.